First of all, you're a rebel, okay? That's what I want to say to you. And in this lifetime, you're saying to yourself, nothing is going to keep me down. Nothing is going to stand in my own way. Some of you are working with quote unquote aliens. Your higher knowledge is higher than that of current religion. When we inflict pain upon ourselves, we are choosing to do that. We may not feel like it's a choice. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back. This is the second part of the July messages. So if you haven't seen the first general message, which I believe will be a good leadway to the piles, that link is down below. Thank you for being here. If you've stumbled upon this video for the first time, thank you so much for being here. I hope that one of the piles, or more than one, or all of them, have something substantial to offer to you so that you can see yourself differently in a more positive way. That's ultimately my goal. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for coming back. The way this works is I'm going to go through each pile. You can pick intuitively which pile you are drawn to from the picture from the very beginning, and see which one draws your energy. Generally, it's a feeling or a knowing, or you just, pick and choose whichever stands out to you the most. Always remember that your intuitive first hit is generally going from beyond your thinking. My intention is always to help people communicate with their higher power so that they are able to lead their life much more intuitively, because that's a very powerful force. So, but anyway, however you choose to get these messages into your life, I hope they're very helpful. So let's start with pile number 1. Before I go through the piles, though, by the way, 1222, when I was shuffling the cards and I was focusing on pile number 1, I kept seeing geometry, circles, squares, pyramids, and I finally said, "What's this?" And they said, "Geometry." Oh, sacred geometry. All right. So pile number 1, if you are drawn to pile number 1, chances are you will be pulled to more or towards understanding sacred geometry. Okay. Okay. Interesting. For some of you, you are carrying, how do I even say this? First of all, you're a rebel. Okay. That's what I want to say to you. And in this lifetime, you're saying to yourself, nothing is going to keep me down. Nothing is going to stand in my own way. And it's like it's like you want to say, "I told you so, I told you so, I told you so," with this information. So likely you are someone who has been feeling different things throughout your life, but unable to fully explain it. And if you talk to somebody about it, they would have said, "I don't know what you're talking about." It does coincide with religion, but it doesn't. I don't know what that means, but so you're likely coming from a religious background. Your higher knowledge is higher than that of current religion. When it comes to the concept of higher power or higher souls, you seem to have an understanding on what is higher power, what is source, more so than the average human being. That doesn't make you right, and it doesn't make other humans wrong. It just means you're vibing at a different level of perception. Okay? They said your own individuality counts because it's a flavor. But you know that you are not just an individual. You know that you are part of something greater. You have this knowing within you. Okay? I'm actually seeing an image of cobra. So this to me represents sheer power. I feel like you have this innate understanding or knowing about the idea of power, higher power. And it's coming to you in concepts now. And what I'm getting is this sacred geometry. So you might be drawn to sacred geometry. You might be reading about sacred geometry. You might be seeing symbols, sacred geometry symbols all over the place. I see pyramids a lot because that connects me to Egypt. So you might have a connection like that too. Just generally being drawn to something that's sacred geometry connected, okay? The idea of Metatron, working with other beings. So that's what I had when I was shuffling cards for pile number 1. Now let's look at your energy specifically. And we have the we have the energy of belief, number 11. You might be seeing 1111 as if to tell you that you're on the right track. In fact, you might be seeing many repeated numbers. 333, 555. I see a lot of 4s and a lot of 5s and a lot of 3s. Sometimes 8s, but generally 3s, 4s, and 5s is what I see a lot, and 6. You might be seeing different versions of that, something that's repeatable. Number 11 stands for justice, balancing energies, balancing the yin and yang. I also want to say double whammy, new beginning. So you are likely, pile number 1, standing at a threshold, or you're at crossroads, and there is an inevitable new beginning for you. And as your concepts are changing, so is your ideas about who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, and how you're supposed to make a living. So I have a feeling for some of you, the draw towards something like sacred geometry or healing, could be healing with sound, may actually represent you moving to a different way of expressing yourself and actually earning income from doing so. Okay? Now I'm going to read this. The frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and talents and a strong connection to source. What I get from here is also the idea of everything being connected. Okay, those are a very high vibrating colors. I also feel that if you're drawn to pile 1, or if you picked pile 1, you have some connection to certainly other beings, but I want to say specifically blue beings, okay? Some of you communicate with what I want to term aliens, even though I don't like that term, but the typical aliens. So, and I'm seeing, the typical depiction of aliens, which is like the gray. I'm not saying you have contact with gray, but you certainly have, some of you are working with quote unquote aliens, okay? That's what's coming to me. So that's what I'm saying to you, okay? Now, if you have this, if this is you, and I suspect you are because this is what's coming, then it would make sense that you would have this other heightened awareness of what is than that of most people. And that can often put you in a bracket of weird. Maybe you think you're weird. You're not weird at all. In fact, if I may interject as Joanna, I think we're all weird. We all have our quirks, and we're all basically living a dream. So nonetheless, if you feel that you are weird, own your weirdness. It's the best thing you can do. Owning your weirdness is the best thing you can do in this lifetime. This is what I'm being asked to say. This is where your sheer power is. Okay? Now, of course, how do I, because I feel like there's a room for misinterpretation, and I don't want you guys to get this. I don't want it to be misinterpreted. What I'm saying is you likely have some not so normal gifts, okay, that come from higher planes. Some of it could be objects, experiencing objects in other dimensions, working with other beings, having this ability to work with other beings. And that is what you may feel as weird about you. And what I want to say, there's nothing weird about it. It's perfectly normal. We're just under the umbrella of forgetfulness, so most people don't have that awareness. Okay? But more and more people are waking up to this awareness. In other words, what we have been believing in is changing. And I feel pile number 1 is you are part of creating that change. You are part of reintroducing that change, because other civilizations before this one had heightened consciousness. Okay? So we are... what we believe in is changing, basically. And when we change what we believe, we literally restructure our world. So by changing what you are believing about yourself, you are going to literally recharge your current world, your current life, but also almost like a restart to your current life. I feel that some of you, probably many of you in pile number 1, are some sort of healers, communicators, educators. You may be even someone working with wood, like wood crafting, but then you say some pretty profound things that make people go, well, that's an interesting thing you said. I never thought about it that way. Okay? That's very important. What might be potentially standing in your way? So this is the proverbial devil in reverse. In this case, it's called a master. Okay. So the position of this message is what may be standing in your way. It's how you hold yourself back. So if you have this unusual gift, if you have this unusual ability, and it's only unusual because most people don't have that experience, but if you have it, there is some objection that you have about it. In other words, part of your belief system likely does not validate this gift, and because it is so, you have hard time relying on this gift. Okay, that's what holds you back from fully embodying this gift, and also fully expressing this gift, and fully enhancing this gift. Because what you are aware of right now, whoever you are and whatever you are aware of, that's just the beginning. You haven't even scratched the surface yet, is what I want to say. Okay? You are a magician in disguise. Perhaps you know how to create magic. The ancient Egyptian schools of magic did exactly that. This esoteric ancient wisdom was very much about magic, how to use life force to create like magic. You might have some connection to Egypt. You might have some connection to goddess Isis or some of the other goddesses. Interestingly enough, I know that we are in the rise of the feminine. It seems to be that's where I'm being gently tilted towards, is bringing messages to heal the feminine. Okay. So because it's in reverse, it's telling me that you are overcoming your shadows. You are learning to no longer pay attention to those aspects of you that hold you back from exploring this gift that you have, from exploring your weirdness. And I said earlier, love your weirdness. Okay. So you're likely on some sort of a threshold right now. You're leaning into these abilities, but you're not quite sure if you can depend on them. And that's the tricky part, because I want to say this, until you actually lean into it, you're never going to know. You're never going to know. What I want to say is this: if you've been always drawn to some healing arts and you have these gifts, then chances are pretty substantial that you brought these gifts with you in order to use these gifts and to help humanity with these precise gifts. In other words, these gifts are revealing themselves to you for a reason. There's a reason why these gifts are revealing themselves to you. Your job is to decide what you want to do with it, and that's the idea of free will. Just because you have these gifts does not mean you have to do anything with it. You don't have to, but here's what I will tell you. If you don't at least dabble in it, you are always going to feel dissatisfied, because I believe that if you were to fully dive into it, you would be the most satisfied person ever. In fact, you would know, oh my God, this is what I'm here to do. Okay? And I feel that so strongly, like it's like this energy is pulling me. So whatever your gifts are, or whatever your weirdness is whatever you are afraid of exploring, that is given to us as an idea of you having a gift. You're overcoming shadows connected to that gift. A lot of healers I work with were punished and or lost their lives for having spiritual gifts, myself included. So that wouldn't be unusual. In fact, it's pretty standard in what I see in my practice. Okay? But the purpose of this message is to tell you that you are in the process of overcoming shadows that keep you from fully embodying and fully expressing this gift. Okay? What's the likely outcome? Interesting. All that glitters. Let me tune into this. This is number 16. Okay. Let me just tune into it more. It's almost like you're choosing which mask to wear. Do I wear this mask or do I wear this mask? And that's obviously a metaphor. How about if you wore no mask? If you wore no mask, who would you be? Who are you, thank you, without the mask? And we wear masks all the time, right? You know, when we have a certain role to play in a company, for example, we are wearing a certain mask or a hat. Okay, but you can still wear, quote unquote, a mask and be very genuine okay? The type of mask we're talking about is the mask that does not allow you to fully be yourself. I just heard, why do you objectify yourself so much? Why do you objectify yourself so much? It's like you're looking at yourself as an object. You are so much more than what you're looking at. There's depth to you. There's depth to you. Mask does not allow other people to see your depth. And I feel like this message is just has this, there's a message in this, okay? I feel like there's a layer of messages here. Why don't you want to be you? If it comes to this idea of the gift, perhaps you are afraid of embodying that gift. If this gift is natural to you, but you're not embodying it, then you and the gift are not at one, which means you are in denial of. So when you are in denial of something, you're trying to be something else. You're pretending. What's your mask? What is your mask? And this is not to question you. It's not to invalidate you. It's not to say you're doing this wrong. No. It's simply to ask a question of yourself. Who am I without my mask? And then see what comes up. Alternatively, you are someone who's trying on different masks. The idea of trying on different masks, which mask fits you better. And of course, again, when we are in life, we wear certain masks, but it's the type of mask that's preventing you from being your true, genuine self. Okay. For example, if you are working somewhere and you are working with clients, you want to show up, be in a respectable, professional manner. You're not going to show up, half drunk because that's you. No, you have to play a certain part. We understand that, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't be yourself. You can still show up as a professional in support of a person, nicely poised, nicely groomed, and still be yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. In other words, what masks prevent you from being truly, genuinely you? So if you are not embodying your gift, you are not being truly, genuinely you. You want to ask yourself the question, why? What is preventing me from that? That's really important, because in the last video, for the general message, there was a lot of focus on shadow. And we are, especially because we are rising out of shadows. We are rising out of our own shadows. So you and your masks and how you see yourself, how you want other people to see you, how genuinely you show up in life, or do you have to pretend? And if you have to pretend that you are someone that you're not, obviously you're getting something in return, but is it satisfying? Is it satisfying? Okay. Those are all the type of things that are going to come up over the next month or so. So have fun with that. Of course, if you would like, I almost heard copy of manual, how to, there's no manual. There's various ways of dealing with shadows, but if you're curious how to or would like to deal with the shadow, I'm the queen of shadow work. So me and my team love the shadows. You can connect with me if that's what you want, and that information is down below. So that's what I have for you, pile number 1. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. All right, pile number 2. Let's see what we have for you. You actually have more cards because more cards popped up, so I was asked to keep it. First and foremost, we have the energy of discernment. And discernment is different than judgments. Okay? What I'm sensing from here for you, pile number 2, it's about learning to use your voice in a way that makes a positive difference. If you are not used to listening to yourself, one of the more powerful ways you can learn about yourself is record yourself talking, but pretend you're not recording, and just talk, or just turn in a conversation, turn your recording on and just forget about the recording and engage in a conversation. If you want to learn about yourself, record yourself and then hear yourself talk. And don't notice if you see any tendencies. Words are very powerful. We all know that. How we use our words is how we wield our power. Okay? You are a powerful being. You are a powerful creator. Your words are very powerful. Okay? For example, if you are being patronizing to somebody, you are asserting a certain power onto someone. By the way, I'm not saying that you are patronizing. I'm just saying as an example. In other words, to someone patronize you, it's them asserting their power on you. Okay? What does that have to do with discernment? Well, here's the thing. Words can either keep you in your power or words can knock you off your power. So it is important what words you use if you want to fully embody your power. Here's why. When you learn using empowering words towards yourself and others, you're building your own confidence and you're helping others build their confidence as well. You're not building it for them, but you're helping them build their own confidence. Okay? Excuse me. On the other hand, if you are someone that constantly puts other people down, you are making yourself a superior person and perhaps making the other person feel inferior. So that is you using your power in ways that is probably not encouraging strength and happiness in the other person. Okay, so that's how they want to depict power in your words and how powerful words are. And every one of us has been in a situation where we were either belittled by someone made us feel small, and on the flip side, someone who just had the best things to say about us. Remember the feeling? You decide how you want to feel. If you use certain disempowering words towards you, you will feel disempowered. On the other hand, if you use empowering words, you are empowering yourself. This is time for discernment. Discernment in terms of what you say based on what you believe about yourself. Okay? For example, you might ask yourself the question, why do I tend to minimize myself? Why do I do this to me? Why do I put myself down? Why do I keep myself down? Why don't I use my voice in a conversation? Is it perhaps because I feel I will be rejected? Okay. Fearing rejection is oftentimes tied to us rejecting ourselves. So pile number 2, I feel like some aspects around rejection is going to come up for you. But let me read this. The frequency of discernment supports our ability to view the world and the people around us from a place of inner balance and detachment, yet with compassion and wisdom. Okay? Being discerning with your words, in particular with your words, will go a long way towards helping you create more of what you want. Remember, words are power. Okay? What might be standing in your way? We have 2 cards here. Seek the truth in opposition and base chakra. Okay? So I'm just going to flip them over. Rejection and stability, security. Okay? So what might be standing in your way, or what is likely standing in your way, are your own inner securities around survival. Okay? For example, if you are afraid of rejection, it's because there is possibly a fear of not being loved. When a child is not loved, it's equivalent to death for a child. Okay? That's what it feels like for a child when it doesn't feel being loved. Okay? So, what's the antidote to that? Well, since in this instance, one will be seeking love predominantly from the outside, then what needs to happen is this particular person needs to learn how to love him or herself, how to give themselves love. Okay? If you are talking negatively about yourself, or if you are making statements that are putting you down, You are not igniting your own fire. You are dimming your fire. The question is, do you want to do that? Of course, the answer is probably not. Okay? Seek the truth. This is seeing beyond the illusion. It did show up in reverse, and I'll talk about what that may mean. Again, 7 stands for July, so this is likely for you to come up in, I want to say July and August. You are learning how to see beyond what you see, because there's more beyond than what you can currently see. It's practicing seeing beyond the illusion. Okay? I just heard, don't be offended by what you see. See it from a different angle. Now that's a tough one, because there are so many situations that I could describe as far as being offended. For example, if someone says something mean to you and you get offended by it, ask yourself this question: what part of me is being offended and why? Okay, because likely someone offending you has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with the other person, but you're taking it personally. Okay? Why do you feel offended? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with feeling offended. It's just one of the things we experience, but it's just as an idea. If you get offended by somebody saying something to you, seeing beyond the illusion would be this: the part of me that is hurt or still holding on to some limited belief system, that part of me is still hurt. But there's a part of me that understands that this comment is likely coming from a person who is frustrated or doesn't know how to deal with his or her own emotions, so she lashes or he lashes out at me, making me feel bad or trying to make me feel bad. Perhaps because they want you to feel bad for them. Okay? It's about seeing the story behind what's really going on, or seeing what's really going on behind the story that we see. Okay? Remember, it's all an illusion. I know it's very hard for the human brain to grasp that. What do you mean it's an illusion? I can experience it. Yes, you are absolutely experiencing it. But it's not who you are. You are so much more than what you are experiencing. You are currently identifying with this experience. That's how you identify with the experience. But you are not your experience. Your experience gives you awareness. It allows you to know something about yourself, but you are more than that. That's just a part of you. So seeing beyond the illusion is this, is to understand the reason behind everything, and everything happens, and understanding that there is always a reason behind everything that happens. We may just not be able to see it right now. Okay? And based on having this awareness, discernment will come naturally. Okay? You will be less likely reflective. So for example, if someone offends you, you're less likely to just offend them right back. You're more likely to kind of let it go past you and go, oh, okay, that person said this to me, that's interesting, and realize that they're saying this for their own reason. Doesn't mean that whatever they said to you is true. Okay? In fact, it isn't. But if you believe it is, then that becomes a problem. Okay? If someone calls you an incompetent person, and who wants to be called an incompetent person? Do you get offended? If yes, then you must believe that you are an incompetent person. Are you an incompetent person? Probably not. Okay? So, having someone say to you that you are an incompetent person and being clear in yourself, am I an incompetent person? Or did I just show some signs of incompetentness right now in this area, but that doesn't make me an incompetent person? You know, to look at the situation and go, okay, well, I'm not an incompetent person. In fact, if you are not an incompetent person, and I assume you're not, in other words, you are competent, then realize the person is saying this because they're angry. Doesn't mean that you are an incompetent person. They may not like what you did. They may not like what you said. They may be frustrated with you, but it doesn't necessarily make you an incompetent person. If you fall under the weight of that statement, you're going to hold yourself back because you're going to grab it and you're going to believe it. Seeing beyond the veil is seeing the truth of what the situation is. Okay? You are a complex being that is experiencing life through different layers of understanding. Okay? There's layers and layers and layers to each and every one of us. But behind all these layers, there is clarity. So seeing beyond the illusion is seeing the bigger picture. Okay? Notice this is where the light comes from. This is where clarity is. When you start seeing yourself from a much higher perspective, you will begin to believe in yourself more. You will begin to feel better more often. You will even allow yourself to do things you haven't allowed yourself to do before. And certainly discernment is going to come a lot easier. Okay? So this is a big month for you, or next couple of months. It's especially because it's dealing with the root chakra. And of course, if we are not grounded, we're going to be very much in our egos, in our heads, because if we're not grounded, we're not safe and secure. So a lot of grounding would be necessary for you, pile number 2, for everybody, but I believe for you, the message is pile to ground. You may even carry some rocks or stones that are of grounding nature. Typically they're black or red. Black obsidian, you might be carrying something like that. A lot of grounding, okay? A lot of grounding. Is there anything else? I thought I had another card. Maybe that was an illusion. Okay, I guess I didn't. So that was messages for pile number 2. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon. All right, pile number 3, let's see what we have for you. I had a message when I was shuffling your cards, and the message was this: mundane. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? And what I felt is that life felt boring. So if you're drawn to pile number 3, probably some part of your life kind of sort of feels mundane. And that's maybe why you're on search for something, and that's maybe why you ended up on this channel. They said spice it up. And I wrote, engage in activities that reflect your belief Engage in activities that reflect your belief systems, enjoyment out of engagement. So what I got for pile number 3 was that many of you are likely not fully engaged with life. How do you know when you're not engaged with life? You feel blah. The blah feeling is lack of engagement. That's what they're asking me to say. Okay. When we are engaged, we feel full and alive. When we are disengaged, we are not fully flowing. Okay. It's as if to say, by disengaging from life, you are not participating with life. You are letting life pass you by. That's how I want to say it. Now, of course, you are likely not someone who just wants your life to pass you by. I mean, what's the fun in that? You're going to be here for a while. Why would you just want your life to pass you by? Get creative. Do something with it. Have fun once in a while. So what I'm getting from pile number 3 is that your life kind of feels ho-hum. No. Now, that is not to say, that's Joanna kicking in, that is not to say that we can't have just dull moments, because not everything is always charge. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, on some profound level, you're not feeling satisfied, and you know you're not feeling satisfied because you can feel it. If you're not feeling it, then chances are you're not dissatisfied. You're satisfied. But something tells me that substantial number of you, pile number 3, has some level of dissatisfaction with some part of your life. Could be your whole life, and that's why the universe is saying spice it up, engage in activities. So I feel like we're going to talk about engagement, how to engage with life, more often, so that you don't feel like life is passing you by, and instead you feel like you are fully participating, and dare I say, you actually are having fun, even though sometimes it can feel scary and you may have moments of doubt, but at least you're engaged, you're alive. Okay? I don't know why they want to give me this example. It's a little bit bizarre, and I feel this is going to hit someone. I'm seeing a person who cuts themselves. Apologies for this, but that's what I'm being asked to say. I'm seeing a person cutting him or herself, and they're telling me is that the person engaging in this practice is, the pain makes them feel alive. The pain they inflict upon themselves makes them feel alive. Maybe it's you. I doubt this is going to be for very many people, but if it is you, then what this is saying is that you are inflicting pain on yourself in order to feel alive. The question is, do you want to continue engaging in this pain, causing yourself pain? And now I feel like I'm going beyond the metaphor of somebody cutting their hands. Now, I'm sure there is many other reasons why people would harm themselves, but this was a depiction of the message they were trying to send through to us. Sometimes people go to these drastic ways to feel alive, okay? Because without it, they might as well not be here, okay? So that's a deep discontentment. I'm not suggesting that that's all of you. What I am suggesting that there is some discontentment in your life, and for some of you, it's quite severe. And I feel, but here's what I want to say. You being here and seeking this information is telling me that some part of you wants to wake up from that heaviness. And maybe that's how your spirit has guided you here, to help you understand a little bit more about yourself. Perhaps you do have some self-harming addiction, and this is going to help you understand why you choose to express yourself that way, because it's a choice. When we inflict pain upon ourselves, we are choosing to do that. We may not feel like it's a choice. We may feel like we have no other choice. And I feel like, again, this is a message that's multi-layered. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, and let's see what the rest of the messages say. So the overall energy, you have the energy of third eye chakra. It's all about how you see yourself. Makes perfect sense. For some of you, your heart and your third eye chakra is naturally quite open, which is very interesting for the heart chakra to be naturally open. However, you tend to close it down because you don't trust people. The question is, do you trust yourself with people? Do you trust yourself with other people? Do you trust yourself with other people? There are some of you that are afraid of losing control while being with other people. And this would be very relationship-like scenario. Okay. Perhaps some of you have fierceness around independence, and that's because you don't want to rely on anybody. Perhaps you have a long history of people disappointing you. Okay. Maybe life is one big frickin' disappointment. Sometimes we feel that. Okay. And what they're saying is this: disappointment exists because of our expectation of what something is supposed to be like. That is not to say that we are supposed to suffer. Of course not. We're not supposed to be anything other than ourselves. But in the process of coming down the chimney to the 3D world, we forget ourselves. And that affects us and how we see ourselves and how we see other people. Okay? Your third eye chakra is your imagination center. This is where you create images and send those out as light. What you imagine often becomes real. Now, you may say, I've been imagining a lot of money and I'm not seeing that. Then what we would say to this is this: you have to look deeper into your unconscious imagination. What does the inner child imagine? And if the inner child imagines something to the effect of being hurt, then that inner child will effectively reflect itself out into how you feel about your environment. Okay? If your inner child believes that there is no support for you, you will live that out. You will live out that belief system. Now, there is going to be the conscious part of you that says, of course I want support. I need support. But if this unconscious part of you does not believe that you can have support or depend on other people, or you have some trust around the issues depending on other people, then you will self-sabotage support. Okay? It's about being able to see that right now. This reminds me a little bit of pile number 2. It's slightly different, but it has a similar flavor. Okay? Let me read this to you. The frequency of the third eye chakra, the indigo flower of life, supports our intuition and our inner knowing, our imagination, and our psychic powers. Okay? I would also say that you are naturally an intuitive person, okay, which is great. What I would want to ask you is, what do you do with this intuition, or with this information that comes from your intuition? Because what I'm getting is that there's quite a bit of suppression going on. Okay, you suppress your own intuitiveness. Somebody may say, well, how will I know if I suppress my own intuitiveness? Here's how you will know. You're always in your head, or you're too much in your head, and you're always looking for logical explanation. Okay? Sometimes things will not make logical sense until much, much later. Okay? Does that mean they don't make sense? No, it just means they don't make sense in the moment, at this time, because of our views. When our views change, then we see what the story is. Then we see the relevance. We see the value. Okay? What might be standing in your way? Crown chakra. So your crown chakra is your connection to source, your own connection to source. I hear believing is seeing. Not seeing is believing. Believing is seeing. So what you believe is what you will likely see. Okay? On the other hand, what you are seeing, especially if it's something you don't want to see, it's likely what you believe. If you are in a relationship that is codependent, that relationship serves a purpose, but it also limits you. Okay? because to be too dependent on somebody else is the same as saying, I don't have it in me to live my own life, where of course you do. Okay, in other words, we willingly give up control and in some area and give it somewhere else, give it to somebody else. Okay, so we end up relying on somebody else too much. And by the way, that's not to say that we shouldn't rely on support. No, I think everybody understands the idea of codependency. Okay, if there is some codependency going on in your life right now, you might want to look at the relationship and ask yourself, what would independent relationship look like? So if you're in a codependent relationship, ask yourself, what would be the independent relationship? What would be the structure of an independent relationship? And notice if that scares you. And ask yourself, why does it scare me? Maybe you believe you don't have what it takes. Maybe you're afraid of being alone. Maybe you feel you're not worthy of experiencing something different. We have many stories, right? And again, we're all in the process of waking up. Okay. What is your own connection to source, to your source, whatever you define as your source? What is your own connection to your source? That's the first question. Second question, do you trust your source? If the answer is no, then it's not your source. If you don't trust your source, then it's not your source. Then what's your source? Okay. How much do you trust source? That's why they said, believing is seeing, not seeing is believing. You first have to believe that source will support you before you can experience being supported. Okay? Life always supports you. Life has no other option but to support you. And it's a bit of a catch-22, because someone may look at their situation and go, this is in no way, shape, or form what I would call a support system. And I would say that when we look at the inner confines of that person and their inner story and their inner dialect that goes on, it would be very evident how the situation is coinciding with their deeper belief system. Okay? For example, if you believe that you will never have enough money, it doesn't matter what you do, you will try attaining money and it will either evade you or it'll come and you'll just get rid of it over and over again, because that truth is not corresponding with your inner truth. You have to shift your inner truth. Okay? And they're saying that your shadows often, they either disconnect you from higher source or they make you doubt higher source. Remember, you are part of higher source. You are part of source. And there's nothing other than source, right? So the entire universe is in a position to support you. In fact, its only job, if you will, is to support you. It's to support each and every individual. Okay? That's what support system really is. So the universe is always in support of you. The question is, how are you in support of you? Do you support your shadows? Do you support your limitations? Or what do you support? What do you support within yourself? Okay. In other words, how are you supporting yourself emotionally? If you're depending on other people to support you emotionally, then you're not strong in your own emotions. And that's not to say that we shouldn't have people to lean on. No, absolutely, yes. But if we're constantly seeking happiness, let's say, from outside source, and we cannot possibly control the outside source, we can only be in relationship to it. If that source goes away, then what happens with us? we'll flat on our face. Okay? And learning how to love yourself, it takes care of so many, I want to say problems. That's a big statement, actually. Learning how to love yourself takes care of many problems. Oh, okay, I see how. Because when we learn how to love ourselves, we automatically realize that we are all connected. Okay? Because learning to love ourselves is us getting closer to source. Okay? And by the way, it's a bit catch-22 again. It's not that we're not close to source. It's we are under the disillusionment that we are separate from source. That's what's changing right now. Okay? Your own connection to source has always been there. Always been there. It always will be there. It will never cease to exist. Your beliefs about it and your understanding of it and your understanding of yourself in relationship to source, that's what's changing. And that's where people find their freedom, in seeing themselves from a whole different perspective. And when we see ourselves from a much higher perspective, we see ourselves as one, which means if I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. If you hurt me, you're hurting yourself. It's all energy, it's all frequency. When we are loving towards ourselves, we are naturally more loving and kinder to other people. Okay? We are essentially, I'm going to say it, we're spreading more love. That's how it's helpful. That's how it's helpful to humanity. That's how it's helpful to our challenges. Because we shift our perspective. Thinker and a leg up. Interesting, because the leg up is all about support. I want to say you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it. Whatever it is that we are talking about right now, you're overthinking it. I want to say it's much simpler than what you think. I often hear this from my team, that we overcomplicate things for ourselves. And I happen to agree with that. We complicate things all the time. If we only just looked at ourselves from a higher perspective and go, oh my God, why am I making this so complicated for myself? It's pretty simple. I just have to tune in. But we are not in a habit of tuning in every moment of every day. Maybe it's not about tuning in every moment of every day, but it's about being in a flow of every moment of every day and trusting that the universe always supports. And the universe supports that which we deem real. What is real to you? What in your mind, what in your head, what in your thoughts says, this is real, this is not real? It's a belief. Your reality is your creation. I'm saying, tell me more. When you make something real, it is real to you. It may not be the same real to somebody else. In other words, your real is reflective of what you believe real is. Okay? So if you don't believe something exists, then to you it's not real. It doesn't exist. But does that mean it doesn't exist? It does exist on some other level, but to you it doesn't exist. Okay? It's the same thing with beliefs and source and universe. We deem real based on what we believe, and our beliefs in terms of our thinking, in terms of our ego awareness, is very small. So we see ourselves as these little dim lights, and in reality we are these powerful beings of light. Okay? Your essence is changing. You are okay, it's funny. You are going through like a cosmic filter. So I see you as going through a filter, and you know what happens when you go through a sifter, when you sift flour? The denser pieces stay behind, and the fine flour moves through the sifter. Okay, you're going through that right now. What could that mean for you in a 3D world? For one, you are leaving some things behind. You are going through some process, and this process is during this process you are leaving dense energies behind, and as a result you are becoming finer in energy. Your energy is on the rise, so you might actually be experiencing a lot of frequent headaches right now. Okay, I want to talk about the support a little bit. So this is a little baby bear climbing on mama bear, trusting that she's going to be there for mama bear, for the baby bear, because if mama bear is not there, the baby bear is in trouble. Okay, you in pile number 3 have a fear that you will not have someone to rely on, to depend on, and that is affecting your own survival fears. So you have survival fears. That's similar to second pile. You might want to look at that. Okay, always remember, the universe is always there to support you. It may not be in support of you exactly the way you want it, but the universe always supports you. The best you can do to ensure that the support is as close to as what you wanted it to be is you have to believe in it. You have to believe in the support that you want. It has to be real to you. So if your past says, I've never had support, so therefore I will never have support, you have to let go of that heaviness. You have to let go of that baggage. That is no longer true for you. That's past, gone. Cut off the tie. Okay? Instead, realize that the universe always supports you. It can't help but to support you. That's how it works. Okay? It's about you being vibrationally aligned to that which you want more of. Okay? There's a saying I'm sure you've heard a million times. You can never experience something you are not in the vibration of. In other words, if you want to have experience on this vibration, but you are on this vibration, then you are not only at odds, but you're also not aligned, right? So you have to energetically bring yourself here to have this experience. That's called shadow work. This is what the general messages we're talking about a lot. It's about shadow work. So some of you have some shadow work to do around the idea of support and scarcity. Okay, so it could be support as a person, support money, scarcity. You come from a space of lack, and many people do. It's very normal, but we are moving to higher frequencies, and the universe knows no lack. The universe is abundant in everything, including lack of money. Okay? It is abundant in lack of money, if that's what we believe. Okay? Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because we're born into certain environments that, so, for example, if your soul wanted to experience prosperity, it may have been born into complete opposite of prosperity, and as a result of life's challenges, they get to a space where they experience prosperity, but they're coming from complete lack, poverty, and because of it they have this appreciation. Okay, and of course, in order to appreciate anything, we have to understand, we have to know its value. We have to see its value. If we don't see something as valuable, we're not going to appreciate it. Okay? I want to say this to you. Have appreciation for your quote-unquote bad experiences, because those experiences gave you a view of what you don't want, of where you don't want to be. And again, it has nothing to do with deserving. Whatever bad has happened to you in this life has nothing to do with deserving. Now, you may have issues around deserving or undeserving, yes, but as far as the universe is concerned, the whole idea of deserving or undeserving is ridiculous. Not in our human heads, but as far as this bigger picture goes, consciousness goes, there's the whole idea of undeserving is It's just a belief system. It doesn't exist. Okay. So that's what I have for pile number 3. I hope that this was helpful. I would love to see your comments. Let's see how the month of July flows. Again, the first part of this video is linked down below. If you would like to speak with me and my team and potentially look at clearing your own shadows, then again, that information is down below. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon, and take care. Bye-bye. Remember to click the notification bell to get notifications when I upload new content. Thank you. See you soon.